Oh, no, we haven't done anything like that. I think that happened and then we just started going to work. And we don't all work the same.
Imagine brothers fighting over Oscars, sisters feuding for decades, and families hiding million-dollar secrets. These 25 sibling tales stretch from 1910 scandals to Marvel heroes. The last entry will stun you, and there's a juicy secret in the video. Let's kick off with number 25, Zac and Dylan Efron.
There was like a boys' side, a girls' side, but it was like just basically sheds with bunk beds in them.
In 2006, Zac Efron's face was on billboards in over 30 countries. High School Musical was smashing DVD sales records, and his fan mail averaged 1,500 letters a week. Yet, almost no one knew about Dylan, the athletic, quietly rebellious younger brother born in 1992. Here's the twist. Dylan wasn't just Zac's sibling. Industry insiders whisper that in early Disney promo shoots, Dylan occasionally stepped in as a body double when schedules clashed, meaning some of those glossy magazine covers weren't Zac at all. Publicists leaned into the mystery, knowing that keeping Dylan out of frame made Zac's brand feel unattainable. Publicists knew that keeping Dylan out of the frame added to Zac's mystique. But Dylan never chased that spotlight. In 2016, he turned down a lucrative modeling deal, opting instead to work in film production, extreme sports travel documentaries, and environmental causes with Zac. One project took them deep into remote landscapes for a climate-focused shoot. Much of the footage has never been publicly released. And if you think that's surprising, wait until you see which next pair turns sibling rivalry into box office gold. Let's move on to number 24, Chris and Scott Evans.
Growing up, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 8 or 9.
When Captain America: The First Avenger premiered in 2011, Chris Evans was on a $300,000 per film trajectory that would later skyrocket to $15 million per Marvel appearance. Yet, behind the superhero mask, there was Scott, his younger brother by 3 years, walking a completely different path. They grew up in Sudbury, Massachusetts, sharing a modest 3-bedroom home and competing fiercely in high school sports. Chris once admitted Scott beat me in almost everything but drama club. While Chris trained for grueling stunt work, Scott built a resume on soap operas like One Life to Live from 2008 to 2011, later earning Broadway credits. Scott has said he focused on projects that allowed him to build his own identity as an actor, from daytime dramas to Netflix comedies. That decision paid off. Scott carved a steady career in comedy TV, including Grace and Frankie. Even now, they live just blocks apart in Los Angeles, often seen at Red Sox games together. It's a rare Hollywood sibling story with zero public feuds, yet the next brothers faced career crossroads that tested their public and private lives. Next is number 23, Jonas Brothers.
We were out in the middle of really nowhere up in Canada, and it was quite beautiful, so we had a lot of...
In 2007, the Jonas Brothers, Kevin, Joe, and Nick, were earning $12 million annually, headlining tours that sold 1.5 million tickets in a single year. They had a Disney Channel sitcom, a platinum album, and a fan base that crashed websites within minutes. But behind that polished image was a brutal schedule, 220 shows in 18 months, constant press events, and rigid family-friendly rules from Disney that forbade dating rumors. By 2010, exhaustion and creative differences led to a messy split. Joe later revealed they abruptly canceled multiple shows mid-tour. The brothers didn't speak for months. Kevin turned to business ventures, Nick pursued solo music, scoring a Billboard Top 10 hit, and Joe fronted DNCE with the smash Cake by the Ocean. Then, in 2019, they staged one of pop's biggest comebacks. Sucker hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making them the first band in over 16 years to debut atop the chart. And if the Jonas reunion felt unlikely, wait until you hear about the next brothers, whose bond was tested by Hollywood scandal and tabloid frenzy. Let's move forward to number 22, the Affleck brothers.
And all you see is the growling animal or whatever it is.
Ben and Casey Affleck grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, raised by an educator mother and father who once worked as a janitor. Ben's rise came first. Good Will Hunting in 1997 won him and Matt Damon an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, grossing $225 million worldwide. Casey took a slower route, earning critical praise in The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford in 2007, before winning an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea in 2016. Combined, the brothers have 4 Academy Award wins and over $4 billion in global box office earnings. Yet, both faced public controversies. Ben over gambling and a high-profile divorce, Casey over workplace allegations during I'm Still Here. Despite this, they remain fiercely loyal. Casey once said, "We fight like hell, but he's the first person I call." Their shared Boston roots still show. Both often attend Red Sox games together, but the next brothers turned sibling collaboration into a billion-dollar empire until family drama almost tore it apart. Next is number 21, the Baldwin brothers.
I mean, I've done films with people where I thought a scene was a good scene. And I'll do a film.
Alec, Daniel, William, and Stephen Baldwin came from a Catholic family in Massapequa, New York. By the mid-1990s, all 4 were household names. Alec starred in The Hunt for Red October in 1990, and Glengarry Glen Ross, 1992, earning over $100 million in career box office by that decade's end. Daniel took grittier roles in crime dramas. William headlined action films like Backdraft in 1991, and Stephen broke out in The Usual Suspects in 1995. At their peak, the brothers seemed to be in every genre, from thrillers to comedies, sometimes all in the same year. Yet, the fame came with chaos. Tabloid scandals, financial troubles, and public feuds often overshadowed their work. Alec's political commentary made him a lightning rod, while Stephen became a born-again Christian and shifted to faith-based films. Even with different paths, the Baldwins were made a recognizable dynasty. Few families have matched their combined reach in film, television, and headlines. And the next brothers on our list, their Hollywood journey began in Australia and ended in the Marvel Universe. Let's move on to number 20, Hemsworth brothers.
My daughter was born here. The traffic, not so fun, but
Chris, Liam, and Luke Hemsworth grew up in Melbourne before moving to the small town of Phillip Island. Chris's career exploded with Thor in 2011, which grossed $449 million worldwide, launching him into a $20 million per film bracket by 2019. Liam found fame in the Hunger Games franchise from 2012 to 2015, which earned over $2.9 billion globally. Luke, the eldest, built steady TV success in Westworld from 2016 to 2022. Their rise was rapid. Chris once revealed he had just $200 in his bank account before landing Thor. All 3 first acted in Australian soaps like Neighbours and Home and Away, a unique shared start that built their industry savvy. Now worth over $200 million combined, they frequently return to Australia, even buying neighboring properties near Byron Bay. But their sibling loyalty hides intense competition. Chris admitted, "We all wanted the same roles at first." The next pair on our list didn't just act together, their fame sparked a pop culture frenzy unlike anything Hollywood had seen since Beatlemania. Next is number 19, Dennis and Randy Quaid.
He loved making movies. You could just feel his enthusiasm for.
Some Hollywood siblings play it safe. The Quaid brothers never did. Dennis Quaid, born in 1954, broke out with Breaking Away in 1979, a $2.3 million indie that made $20 million and earned 4 Oscar nominations. From there came The Right Stuff in 1983, The Big Easy in 1986, and The Parent Trap in 1998, building a career that's pulled over $1 billion at the box office. Randy Quaid, 3 years older, took quirkier turns, earning an Oscar nomination for The Last Detail in 1973 and stealing scenes in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, and Independence Day, 1996. Their careers rarely overlapped, but when they did, like in The Long Riders in 1980, critics noted the raw, believable sibling chemistry. Both have had unpredictable public lives. Dennis battled addiction and made a celebrated comeback, while Randy's later legal troubles turned him into a Hollywood cautionary tale. Together, they've proved that brotherly fame doesn't follow one path, it explodes in multiple directions. And yet, the next brothers' fame was built on scripted drama, not music, and their family became inseparable from network television. Let's keep going with number 18, the Wayans brothers.
animator initially.
Really?
Yeah, I used to want to be an animator, and then I accidentally opened one of my dad's checks.
Keenan Ivory, Damon, Shaw, and Marlon Wayans transformed American comedy in the 1990s. In Living Color, which ran from 1990 to 1994, created by Keenan, won an Emmy and launched stars like Jim Carrey and Jennifer Lopez. Damon's Major Pain from 1995 grossed $30 million, and Sean and Marlon's White Chicks from 2004 pulled $113 million worldwide, and the family's Scary Movie franchise earned over $896 million across 5 films. They've collectively appeared in or produced more than 70 films and TV projects, often keeping budgets modest to maximize profit margins, a strategy Marlon once called the family hustle. Even with comedy's volatile box office trends, their imprint remains unmatched. Damon has said their secret was keeping it in-house, writing, directing, and acting together to maintain control. The next brothers took a different route, transitioning from child stardom in one of the most famous Christmas movies ever to critically acclaimed adult roles. Now at number 17, the Culkin brothers.
Do something in it, and because I don't really pursue acting at all, kind of thing. And I'm not saying
Macaulay Culkin became the face of 1990s Home Alone, which grossed $476.7 million globally and held the record as the highest-grossing live-action comedy for over 2 decades. His younger brother Kieran also appeared in Home Alone in 1990 and Home Alone 2 in 1992 before stepping away from the spotlight. By the 2000s, Kieran reinvented himself in indie films like Igby Goes Down in 2002 and later as Roman Roy in HBO's Succession, a role that won him a Golden Globe in 2024. Between them, the brothers' combined projects have generated over $1.5 billion worldwide, yet their paths diverged sharply. Macaulay endured a highly publicized legal battle with his parents over a $17 million fortune at age 14, while Kieran deliberately avoided child star overexposure. In interviews, Kieran admits he learned from his brother's experiences to stay grounded. Up next are siblings whose shared screen time defined a generation of TV drama, and whose last name became synonymous with primetime success. Let's move forward to number 16, Jack and Harry Cohn.
Brooklyn, Bronx, yeah.
But were you with the gangs at the time?
For a short while, yeah, to survive.
Jack and Harry Cohn, sons of Jewish immigrants in New York, started Columbia Pictures in 1924 with Joe Brandt. At the time, the studio had a budget of just over $100,000 and was seen as a poverty row operation. Harry, the volatile studio head in Hollywood, was nicknamed King Cohn for his iron-fisted control. Directors joked you could hear him shouting from the parking lot. Jack handled the New York office, managing distribution and financing. Their big break came in 1934 with Frank Capra's It Happened One Night, made for $325,000 and grossing $2.5 million, sweeping the Oscars. Under the Cohns, Columbia became a top-tier studio, launching stars like Rita Hayworth and William Holden. The brothers' relationship was turbulent. Harry reportedly barred Jack from visiting the Los Angeles lot without notice, yet their combined business instincts turned Columbia into a Hollywood powerhouse worth millions by the 1950s. Up next is another pair of brothers who didn't run a studio, but wrote one of the greatest screenplays in cinema history, shaping how Hollywood told stories forever. Now at number 15, Dana Andrews and Steve Forrest.
We're in this thing together. Naturally, I'll sleep here. Stands to reason.
What stands to reason?
Dana Andrews became a 1940s leading man with hits like Laura, 1944, and The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946, the latter earning $23.65 million, then a record for a post-war drama. His younger brother Steve Forrest took a different route, finding success in 1970s television, notably SWAT from 1975 to 1976, which was syndicated to over 54 countries. While Dana's career spanned over 100 films, Steve's television reach brought his face into millions of homes weekly, making them one of the rare sibling duos to dominate both mediums simultaneously. Steve even stepped into film, appearing in Mommy Dearest in 1981, but the brothers rarely collaborated, preferring to keep careers separate to avoid typecasting. Next, we enter Golden Age territory with these sisters whose elegance, rivalry in talent captivated audiences for decades, and whose personal feud became Hollywood legend. Let's move on to number 14, Philip and Julius Epstein. Born in New York City in 1909, identical twins Philip and Julius Epstein became two of Hollywood's most in-demand screenwriters of the 1930s and 1940s. Contracted by Warner Bros. For $1,250 a week each in 1939, they specialized in witty, fast-paced dialogue. Their crowning achievement came in 1942 with Casablanca, co-written with Howard Koch. Shot for $878,000, it grossed $3.7 million during its initial run and went on to win 3 Oscars, including Best Screenplay. The brothers' lines, "Here's looking at you, kid," became part of cinema's permanent vocabulary. The Epsteins worked as a team for decades, but had a famously playful attitude toward the industry. When studio head Jack Warner once told them to work faster, they sent a memo, "We're working as slow as we can." Together, they wrote or contributed to more than 50 films, including The Man Who Came to Dinner, 1942, and Mr. Skeffington, 1944. Julius later admitted they often wrote dialogue for each other's characters without telling the director. It kept us amused. Our next replacement features brothers whose careers bridged both sides of the Atlantic, blending British stage prestige with Hollywood box office clout. Next is number 13, David and Richard Attenborough.
I think first and foremost, I'm a television producer. I make television programs.
Richard Attenborough, born in 1923 in Cambridge, England, became one of Britain's most celebrated actors and directors. His acting credits include The Great Escape, 1963, and Jurassic Park, 1993, while his directorial debut Gandhi in 1982 earned 8 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director, and grossed over $127 million worldwide on a $22 million budget. His younger brother David Attenborough took a different path, joining the BBC in 1952 and becoming the face of natural history filmmaking. His Life on Earth 1979 series reached an estimated 500 million viewers globally, a scale few entertainment projects have matched. The Attenborough brothers often credited their shared upbringing, parents who took in refugees during World War II, with shaping their drive. While Richard brought human stories to the big screen, David brought the planet stories to television, producing over 100 hours of landmark documentaries. Together, their combined influence spans culture, education, and conservation, uniting Hollywood spectacle with scientific storytelling. Their legacy is both artistic and moral, with awards ranging from Oscars to knighthoods. Next, we shift to twin filmmakers whose razor-sharp satirical comedies and thrillers became a distinctive part of mid-century British and Hollywood cinema. Let's continue to number 12, Roy and John Bolting. Roy and John Bolting, identical twins born in 1913 in Bray, England, carved out a unique niche as writer-producer-director partners. They worked almost exclusively as a team, one producing while the other directed, then switching roles on the next project. Their career breakthrough came with 7 Days to Noon in 1950, a Cold War thriller that won the Academy Award for Best Story. They gained a reputation for sharp, satirical comedies like I'm All Right, Jack in 1959, which drew over 10 million UK cinema admissions, massive in pre-television Britain, and earned a BAFTA for Best British Screenplay. Though their roots were British, their films often crossed into Hollywood distribution through Columbia and MGM, bringing their satirical style to American audiences. Unlike many sibling teams, they retained full creative control by working as independent producers rather than under studio contracts. Their partnership lasted over 4 decades, with more than 30 films to their credit. Known for their wit and political edge, the Boltings proved that brothers could bypass Hollywood's rigid hierarchy and still make films that turned profits and won awards. Next, we'll move to a duo whose influence on documentary filmmaking changed how nonfiction stories were told on the big screen. Now at number 11, Albert and David Maysles.
It would be the mother and the daughter. So we brought the film to Grey Gardens.
Picture this: 2 brothers, 1 camera, no script. Albert and David Maysles didn't just make documentaries, they turned real life into high drama. Born 5 years apart in Brooklyn, they carried 16mm cameras like other people carry briefcases. In 1969, they made Salesman, following 4 struggling Bible peddlers. No narration, no safety net, just rejection after rejection until you start feeling the weight in your own chest. That $100,000 indie went on to be preserved in the National Film Registry. Then came Gimme Shelter in 1970. They were filming the Rolling Stones at Altamont when the unthinkable happened. A man killed on camera. Hollywood would have cut away. The Maysles didn't. That moment froze a generation's innocence. And Grey Gardens? 2 eccentric relatives of Jackie Kennedy living in a crumbling mansion, eating ice cream in bed while raccoons roamed the attic. It grossed over $1 million on an art house run, but its cultural impact is priceless. They weren't chasing blockbusters. They were chasing truth, and in the process, they proved that sometimes reality outperforms fiction. Next up, we go to a name every film lover knows, yet few remember he had a brother quietly shaping the same empire from behind the scenes. Let's move to number 10, Charlie and Sidney Chaplin.
And the power they took from the people will return to the people, and so long as men die.
Everyone knows Charlie Chaplin, the bowler hat, the cane, the little tramp shuffle, but few realize there was always another Chaplin in the story, working the deals, smoothing the politics, and making sure Charlie's genius actually reached the screen. Sidney Chaplin, Charlie's older half-brother, started as an actor himself, but quickly saw his real talent was off camera. When Charlie signed with S&A Studios in 1915 for $1,250 a week, a jaw-dropping figure for the time, it was Sidney who negotiated the terms. 2 years later, Sidney landed Charlie a record-breaking $1 million contract with First National Pictures, essentially giving him creative freedom unheard of in Hollywood. Sidney also co-founded United Artists in 1919 with Charlie, Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks, giving filmmakers control over their own work. Meanwhile, Charlie was creating The Kid in 1921, City Lights in 1931, and Modern Times in 1936, each grossing millions worldwide during the Depression. While Charlie became one of the most recognizable figures in human history, Sidney was the strategist, the brother who made sure art and business could coexist. Our next brothers didn't wear bowler hats, but they did master both British elegance and Hollywood box office, commanding respect on both sides of the Atlantic. Now at number 9, Sherman Brothers.
She's a special lady. She's great. Nothing. And book after book. Nothing.
Robert B. Sherman and Richard M. Sherman didn't just write songs, they built the soundtrack of Disney's golden years. Between 1964 and 1973, their work contributed to films grossing over $400 million, including Mary Poppins, The Jungle Book, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Mary Poppins in 1964 alone earned 13 Oscar nominations, winning 5, including Best Original Song for Chim Chim Cheree. The brothers also wrote for Disney parks, creating It's a Small World, now played an estimated 1,200 times daily across multiple locations. Despite public charm, they had creative clashes. Richard favored melody-first composition, Robert preferred lyric-first. Yet their synergy was unmatched, earning them a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1976. Their catalog spans over 200 songs, many still generating royalties decades later, making them one of the most commercially successful songwriting duos in history. Up next, a comedy trio who used slapstick, music, and absurdity to dominate 1930s cinema and became some of the most bankable performers of their era. Let's head to number 8, Ritz Brothers.
They danced in unison perfectly. They sang. Harry Ritz.
Al, Jimmy, and Harry Ritz blended synchronized dancing with lightning-fast slapstick, becoming one of 1930s to 1940s Hollywood's most bankable comedy acts. Signed by 20th Century Fox in 1937, they starred in hits like The Three Musketeers, 1939, and The Gorilla, also in 1939, with budgets under $500,000, yet box office returns often doubling or tripling costs. Unlike other comedy teams, the Ritz brothers choreographed every pratfall and routine, often rehearsing 8 to 10 hours daily. Their nightclub performances were legendary, earning $10,000 a week at peak in Las Vegas, equivalent to over $150,000 today. Critics were split. Some praised their originality, Others saw them as too chaotic, but their influence reached Jerry Lewis, Mel Brooks, and even the Marx Brothers. Their act's unpredictability made them a hot studio commodity for over a decade. Next, we turn to a family whose name is synonymous with classic Hollywood acting pedigree, and whose generational influence still shapes film today. Now at number 7, James and Edward Fox.
To a much longer period, because after I'd got, I think, more established myself, I then wanted to...
If you've seen a British period drama or a Cold War thriller from the last half-century, chances are one of the Fox brothers was in it, sometimes both. Edward Fox burst onto the international stage with The Day of the Jackal in 1973, playing the icy, meticulous assassin hunting Charles de Gaulle. That role, shot on a modest $3 million budget, turned into a $16 million global hit and cemented him as one of Britain's most precise character actors. He also won BAFTAs for A Bridge Too Far in 1977 and Edward and Mrs. Simpson in 1978. His younger brother James Fox took a different path, swinging between aristocratic roles in films like The Remains of the Day in 1993 and grittier turns like Performance in 1970 with Mick Jagger. He's also been in major Hollywood productions, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in 2005. What makes them fascinating isn't just their range, it's how they've remained in demand for decades without chasing tabloid fame. They've appeared in more than 150 combined film and TV projects, often in productions that quietly rake in tens of millions worldwide. And now, for our next replacement, we jump to a modern American duo whose careers prove that sometimes Hollywood lightning strikes twice in the same family. Let's move on to number 6, Beery Brothers.
Mad myself a while ago, but now I'm pretty good, all right now.
My family has never wronged.
Wallace Beery wasn't just MGM's top draw of the early 1930s, he was the highest paid actor in the world, raking in $1.5 million a year when the average American salary was under $1,400. His gruff charm in The Champ in 1931 pulled $1 million at the Depression box office, a feat only a handful of stars matched. His older brother, Noah Beery Sr., built a career playing suave heavies in over 230 films, from The Mark of Zorro in 1920 to She Done Him Wrong in 1933 with Mae West. The Beery trademark, versatility. Wallace can make audiences cry. Noah can make them squirm. Then came Noah Beery Jr., Noah's senior son and Wallace's nephew, who kept the dynasty alive for decades, winning hearts as Rocky on The Rockford Files from 1974 to 1980. Between them, the Beery family appeared in more than 500 films and TV episodes, spanning silent epics to color television. Off-screen, Wallace's rowdy behavior was legendary. Studio legend says MGM factored fight settlement fees into his contracts. Noah Sr., the consummate professional, often shook his head at his brother's antics. They weren't the same kind of famous, but together they turned Beery into one of Hollywood's most bankable surnames for half a century. Now at number 5, Nicholas Brothers. Fayard and Harold Nicholas redefined tap in 1930s and 1940s Hollywood, famously performing jump splits in films like Stormy Weather in 1943. Fred Astaire called their stormy weather routine the greatest dance number ever filmed. They toured internationally, earning $3,500 a week, unprecedented for African-American performers in the era. In 1948, they became the first black entertainers to headline at the prestigious Copacabana nightclub in New York. Their athletic style fused ballet, jazz, and acrobatics, inspiring generations from Michael Jackson to Usher. At a time when racial segregation was the norm, the brothers' talents broke barriers, landing them roles in over 30 films. By the 1990s, both had been honored with Kennedy Center accolades and National Medals of the Arts, cementing their place in American cultural history. And our next family? They weren't just famous, they were everywhere, their faces in magazines, films, and even the earliest days of TV, shaping Hollywood's first true child star dynasty. Let's step into number 4, the Bridges Brothers.
And then I got interested in other stuff. I put it down, and this guy here, he's about 16, he picks it up,
Before Jeff Bridges was the dude or the grizzled Texas Ranger in Hell or High Water, he was Lloyd Bridges' son and younger brother to Beau Bridges. Born into a Hollywood family in the 1940s, Beau hit the small screen early, landing parts on My Three Sons and The Fugitive while Jeff was still in school. Their father's success in Sea Hunt from 1958 to 1961 gave both boys an in-house acting masterclass. Beau became a steady presence in both film and television, earning 3 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes, with roles ranging from Norma Ray in 1979 to The Fabulous Baker Boys in 1989, where he co-starred with Jeff in a smoky, jazz-drenched sibling showcase. Jeff, meanwhile, went from fresh-faced heartthrob in The Last Picture Show in 1971 to 7-time Oscar nominee, winning Best Actor for Crazy Heart in 2009. His films have grossed over $3 billion worldwide. Off-screen, they've maintained one of Hollywood's warmest sibling bonds, even collaborating on stage production and humanitarian projects. In an industry where family ties often sour, the Bridges clan, Beau, Jeff, and their actor sister Cindy kept the tradition alive without public feuds. Today, Beau and Jeff proved that Hollywood royalty can still earn their crowns the hard way, one role at a time. Now at number 3, the Barrymore family.
To suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against...
Siblings Lionel, Ethel, and John Barrymore were often called the royal family of Broadway and Hollywood. Lionel won an Oscar for A Free Soul in 1931 and became beloved as Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life in 1946. Ethel, nominated for an Oscar for None But the Lonely Heart in 1944, was revered as one of the finest stage actresses of her generation. John, nicknamed the Great Profile, was a matinee idol in the 1920s and 30s, starring in classics like Grand Hotel in 1932. The trio's combined work spanned more than 200 films and countless stage performances, generating box office receipts in the hundreds of millions when adjusted for inflation. They influenced acting technique across generations. John's Shakespearean work set a standard for American actors, while Lionel's versatility inspired later character actors. The Barrymore name endures today through Drew Barrymore, cementing the family's century-long Hollywood presence. Our next entry, a comedy troupe whose anarchic humor shattered every convention of the studio system and still shapes film comedy nearly a century later. Let's move to number 2, the Marx Brothers.
I said, well, Groucho, if he's the funniest comedian, then I must be the funniest comedian because I'm funnier than you are.
Groucho, Chico, Harpo, Zeppo, and briefly Gummo Marx transformed American comedy from vaudeville stages to silver screens. Between 1929 and 1949, their films grossed the equivalent of hundreds of millions today, with A Night at the Opera in 1935 alone pulling $2.5 million in Depression-era dollars. Their humor, fast-talking wordplay, slapstick chaos, and musical interludes broke the rigid rules of early Hollywood screenwriting. Groucho's wisecracks, Chico's Italian persona, and Harpo's silent mischief became instantly recognizable cultural icons. They were also touring juggernauts. Before releasing Animal Crackers in 1930, they played 250 stage performances in under a year, refining every gag for maximum laugh impact. Behind the curtain, the brothers endured financial hardships during the Wall Street crash of 1929, making their comedic success all the more remarkable. Their influence stretches from Woody Allen to Saturday Night Live. And yet, the next brothers didn't just dominate entertainment, they built one of Hollywood's most powerful empires from the ground up. Finally, number 1, Warner Brothers.
It will star Jack Webb, who scores so effectively in the TV series.
Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack Warner were Polish immigrants who arrived in America with virtually nothing. In 1923, they founded Warner Bros. Pictures, now valued at over $30 billion. They revolutionized cinema with The Jazz Singer in 1927, the first feature-length talkie, which earned $3.5 million against a $500,000 budget. By the 1930s, Warner Bros. Controlled over 250 theaters and employed thousands during the Great Depression. Sam's early death in 1927 didn't stop the surviving brothers from expanding, producing hits like Casablanca in 1942 and The Maltese Falcon a year before in 1941. Jack, often called the last mogul, ruled the studio until 1967, known for fierce deal-making and equally fierce feuds with his brothers. The Warner legacy is more than just a logo. It's the foundation of modern studio filmmaking, distribution, and star power. Without their gamble on synchronized sound, Hollywood's evolution might have taken a very different path. Thanks for watching! If you loved uncovering Hollywood's wildest sibling stories, there's plenty more where that came from. Hit like, smash that subscribe button, and watch our next video for even more untold secrets.